again. It's time for True Crime Tuesday. Today I'm going to talk to you about the most heinous crime that took place in New South Wales in 1986. This is a sad and horrifying story. When a woman cannot walk safely on the street, something is wrong with our civil order. How can we react to such an abominable crime like the murder of Anita Cobby? Let's explore. On the 2nd of February 1986, registered nurse Anita Lorraine Cobby, nee Lynch, was last seen dining in Surrey Hills with fellow colleagues from the Sydney hospital. 2 days later, after she was reported missing by her concerned parents, her nude, battered, and partially decapitated body was found on a farm on Reen Road. The farmer who found her body was John Reen. The body was in such a bad state that she was identified by a distinct Russian-made wedding ring on her finger. She was buried at Pine Grove Memorial Park. Her 5 killers were sentenced in June 1987 and are currently serving life imprisonment in various maximum security prisons in New South Wales. The oldest of the 5 perpetrators, Michael Murphy, died of cancer in February 2019 at the age of 66. This is a case that has particularly disturbed me as it opens our eyes to the barbaric, heinous actions of human beings who live and have lived among us. Anita was born on 2nd November 1959 to Gary Lynch and Grace Lynch in Sydney. At the age of 20, she had made a name for herself as the winner of Miss Western Suburbs Beauty Pageant in 1976. Take a look. While studying to be a registered nurse at Sydney Hospital, Anita, then aged 20, met John Cobby, 23, who was also studying to be a nurse. They were married on 27th March 1982. It's important to note that at the time of Anita's murder, they were separated. There was no marital disagreement, but John was eager to settle down and start his career, whereas Anita wanted to explore the world. Anita, at this point, had moved back to her parents' home in Blacktown. February 2nd, 1996. On that fateful day, at around 3 p.m., Anita had finished her shift at Sydney Hospital and later met 2 of her colleagues and friends for dinner in Surrey Hills. After getting a lift from her friend Lynn Bradshaw to the Central train station, Anita boarded the 9:12 p.m. train that reached her stop, Blacktown train station, at 9:57 p.m. Her normal procedure was to call her parents for a lift home. However, on this fateful night, the phones at the train station were all out of order. There were no taxis nearby. At 10 p.m., she made the ill-fated decision to walk home. Now, we should all live in a society where we can walk home from the station at any time, the day or night. Don't you believe it's one of our basic rights? However, unfortunately, we do not have the liberty to do so due to the lack of morals and the extent of cruelty of some people who live around us. Were the demons lying in waiting for this woman? In a stolen white H.T. Holden Kingswood, ringleader John Raymond Travers, childhood friend Michael Murdoch, and Murphy brothers, Michael oldest, Gary, and Les, started following her, driving alongside her as she walked on Newton Road. She probably didn't even notice or sense any danger. If we were living among human beings who are, for the most part, morally decent people, why should we spend all our time on the lookout for monsters. However, Anita was followed by monsters, not men. They dragged her into their car and drove off to the paddocks on Green Road, now known as Peter Brock Drive. She kicked and screamed, but to no avail. Witnesses in the area all reported hearing her screams, and one of the witnesses' neighbors even drove around the area to look for the Holden. Spotting the empty Holden parked on Green Road, he searched the paddocks until he gave up and went back home. It later transpired that Travers and his group hid in the grass near their car until the man had left the area. Once the man had left, the 5 men repeatedly beat Anita and raped her repeatedly over a horrifying ordeal that lasted almost 2 hours, during which she had her nose and cheekbones broken. She was dragged through a barbed wire fence. She had pleaded with her attackers to let her go by saying that she was married and that she was on her period. However, they did not listen. After this violent ordeal, they decided to leave her on the barbed wire fence and leave. However, there was one problem. Travers, who sported a distinctive teardrop tattoo under his left eye, believed that she would identify them, as they had been using their own names during the horrific attack. At the urging of his fellow gang members, Travers went back to slit her throat twice, the force of which almost severed her head. Anita Cobby died slowly, painfully, and alone that night. Anita's parents, who had been waiting for their customary 10 p.m. call, initially assumed that she was sleeping over at a friend's house. It was not until a phone call from Anita's workplace informing her parents that she had not turned up for her shift that Mr. and Mrs. Lynch became worried. Then the news broke, a horrendous and distressing story of a young woman's nude body, battered body, found in a paddock on Green Road, Blacktown, wearing a distinctive Russian-style wedding ring. John Cobby, who had also been planning to spend time with her that day, immediately set out to Blacktown. As the news of the horrific murder spread, the premier at the time, Neville Wren, offered a $50,000 reward for the capture of the men responsible. The news of the savage nature of her injuries spread, and public anger at the killings grew. The whole community came together in one voice, demanding justice. Everyone wanted to make the killers pay. 19 days after the murder, police acting on a tip arrested Travers, Murdoch, and one of the Murphy brothers. While initially charged with other offenses, Travers' aunt, who is currently in witness protection, aided the detectives' investigation by wearing a hidden microphone and talking to Travers, and got him to confess to the heinous crime. She had also visited Murdoch with the hidden microphone and elicited a confession out of him as well. On February 24, 1986, the captured 3 were formally charged with the sexual assault and murder of Anita Cobby at Bankstown Court. It was not long before the other 2 Murphy brothers, who were at large, were captured. On June 10, 1987, a jury at Darlinghurst Supreme Court found each of the 5 perpetrators guilty of sexual assault and murder. Justice Alan Maxwell wept as he labeled the crimes as one of the most horrifying physical and sexual assaults he had ever seen, and sentenced each perpetrator to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The community heaved a sigh of relief. Anita Cobby's family may have found some closure. However, their beautiful daughter, partner, and friend would never come back. It had transpired and were known to the police that each of the 5 perpetrators had come from rough backgrounds and were known for criminal activities. Travers was suspected to be guilty of a series of rapes in both New South Wales and WA, including the homosexual rape of a homeless 17-year-old male teenager in Mandurah, WA, weeks before Anita Cobby's murder. Travers was known for allegedly raping animals before slitting their throats. Murdoch was an unemployed teenager who did drugs with Travers regularly and looked up to him as a role model. Each of the Murphy brothers, as well as Travers and Murdoch, had criminal records for a variety of crimes they had committed and were known to have violent tempers. A park in Sullivan Street, Blacktown, has been named after Anita Cobby. Epilogue. Anita Cobby's murder is considered one of the most heinous, shocking murders in Australia. Initially a suspect and then cleared, her widowed ex-husband John fled to the US the day after her funeral and began using hard drugs in order to feel hurt and die. He experienced a complete mental breakdown. In 1987, he moved back to Sydney and changed his last name to Francis. In 2016, he changed his name back to Cobby. Anita's parents obviously suffered an unbelievable blow in losing their daughter to those sick, savage monsters. Her father, Gary Lynch, died in September 2008, aged 90, and her mother, Grace, died of lung cancer in 2013, aged 88. On February 21st, 2019, criminal Michael Murphy died of terminal cancer at the age of 66. Currently, John Travers, Gary and Les Murphy and Michael Murdoch are all in various maximum security prisons in New South Wales, still serving their life sentences. People from all over the world would be horrified by this true story of complete proportion, considering the depravity human beings can descend to. I would like to come at this from perhaps a theological and philosophical angle to look at these horrifying events. My initial response was one of anger at what happened to Anita Lorraine Cobby. Hang them all, I thought. However, after reflecting on my knowledge of the significance of compassion to all beings, I had to take a step back and hope that the 4 remaining killers find emotional peace within the prison cells. I hope they are able to come to terms with the horrendous crimes they have committed and to admit to themselves that this crime against humanity is appalling and shocking. I believe that would be the healing process for all of us. We need a reason for living if monsters like this could live and breathe the same air we breathe. Hope the 4 should be able to admit to themselves the gravity of the crime they committed, which could only be described as most savage, despicable, barbaric, and depraved. That's all from me tonight. See you next time. Thank you. Hey guys, check out the group True Crime Stories on Facebook. Link in description. Thank you.